Hang on, April.
Hello Space Chums, SloMo here again with another video. Today, it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or is it Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles from Konami? The arcade game from, I believe, 1989. Played this a lot when I was a kid, absolutely loved it. You may have noticed in the titles, in the opening titles, it said Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. That's the ROM set I'm playing on. Of course, I'm using MAME to play this. It said Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles on screen, but the song said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So now I'm wondering, because in the UK it was renamed Hero Turtles. I'm going to be terrible at this, by the way, but of course, got unlimited continues. Don't have to put those, was it 10 pence a play? Down at the arcades to play this one. In the UK, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles because some clown at the BBFC or whoever had a grudge against ninjas. Oh, I hate these things. There's an interesting article online about the guy who, I forget his name, but his name doesn't deserve to be remembered, quite honestly. But he had a lot of moral panic about ninjas and nunchucks and things like that, and he got a bunch of Bruce Lee movies censored, even though they'd already been fully available in the country. I can't remember which one it is. Maybe Way of the Dragon or possibly Enter the Dragon has it has Bruce Lee on the cover, and in the original artwork he's holding a nunchuck, or a pair of nunchucks, I don't know what the definition is. And it's changed. It was... I told you I wouldn't do very well at this. It was changed to a stick, a bow staff of some kind. Because one man didn't want children to see nunchucks because he thought they were lethal. Which, you know, they are, but they're a lot easier for a kid to go out into a field and find a stick and use that as Donatello's staff, or to get a knife out of the kitchen cabinet, than it is for them to find 2 bits of wood connected to a piece of chain. So I do wonder, because as kids we knew in the UK, even though it was Hero Turtles, we knew it was Ninja Turtles. And I'm wondering if that came from this, because obviously the film was called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In the UK it was called that. There's old Shredhead. I do wonder if that's... if that's where the source of that knowledge came from. A bit like how Michelangelo had nunchucks, and they had to be edited out in the UK and Europe. And yet every kid knew that Michelangelo used nunchucks, partly because the action figures came with them. Why were they not removed from the action figures? I guess because the BBFC didn't have any sort of jurisdiction over Playmates toys and what have you. I love hitting these things and knocking the baddies out with them. Like this one here. Am I going to be able to use it? I go and stand here. There, I love that. Tonight I dine on turtle soup, that's a famous line. But I remember, I think I overheard the Turtles theme song when I was in an arcade once. And couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I came over and had a look at it. And it was this game, and it's so... The graphics were absolutely mind-blowing at the time. It was so much like the cartoon show that I grew up loving. absolutely blew me away. And it's probably, I would call it one of my, I guess, 4 favourite arcade games of that time. The others being WWF WrestleFest, Football Champ, and the Simpsons arcade game. I loved all 4 of those. I never beat any of them until I beat the Simpsons arcade game a few times years later. I got it on PS3, in fact. Got a very brief release on PlayStation 3, and it had it had that weird remake, didn't it? That iOS remake of Simpsons arcade game. Of course, there were a number of different Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. The arcade game on NES, the NES version of this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. There's Turtles in Time on the SNES, which is brilliant and uses some of this game as its inspiration. Hyperstone Heist on the Mega Drive or the Genesis. Similar. I wonder how many times I've died. I wonder how many times I'm gonna die. I bet it's a significant amount. Absolutely loads, no doubt. I love how accurate the foot soldiers are, and of course it sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Because in the cartoon, Shredder had all those robot foot soldier allies. Loved Bebop. I always loved Bebop. I think I liked his mohawk, big pink mohawk. I don't remember his laser gun, but I'm sure he must have had one. Of course, this is the 4-player, even though it's just me for now. This is the 4-player version, and the reason I picked this is because this is specifically the one that was in the arcades that I played on, was a 4-player version, and I didn't realise, but of course it makes sense if you remember the old arcade cabinets. They would have 4 sets of controls that would correspond to the cameras, would correspond to the characters, excuse me. And so it didn't occur to me, whilst I was setting up this emulator, that player 1 would just be intrinsically tied to Leonardo, which is why I didn't get a choice of any of the other turtles. But I remember being in the arcades once, and there was a kid a little bit younger than me who was obviously very excited to see a Turtles arcade game. And both of his parents were with him and started playing it with him. And I rushed over and put 10 pence in and picked up the 4th character and got further than any of them. Yeah, deal with that, chumps. Old Tales from the arcade. Here come the Mousers from Baxter Stockman. Were they Baxter Stockman's thing? Or were they to do with the Rat King? I think they were Baxter Stockman's, weren't they? Or the Rat King would be around the sewers, you would think. I've just noticed it's keeping a running tally of how many enemies I've destroyed. Where it's, ooh, like above my name, I've got 97. I guess that's so you can make it somewhere competitive with your pals. All the pals that I've got to play this game with me. This level is sort of in Turtles in... No, it's not. It's sort of in the Hyperstone Heist. But it's a bit more like the Turbo Tunnel from Battletoads. This is proving a little bit tricky. I always thought it was such a great idea to do different coloured foot soldiers, just for variety, and so you sort of have an idea that, like, you know, the purple ones are the sort of generic base ones, the white ones have knives, that pink one's got a comically large hammer. Is it the orange ones that throw explosives? It makes a lot more sense than most of these kind of beat-em-ups where they have the same character over and over and over, like on screen at the same time. These are all robots, so they would be. Oh, a couple more. Oh, stabbed in the shell, and you're to blame. Oh, there's Baxter. Yeah, it is Baxter, look, dropping the Mausers. Come here, you tit. You know what's funny is I was watching Ninja Turtles last night. I found a Twitch channel that was playing old episodes of it. And what I think I've come to decide is that I'm really nostalgic for the 1987 series, but only, I think, the era when I was actually watching it, because in the UK we weren't getting it daily, we were getting it weekly. You know, like when it went into syndication in the US and there were loads of episodes, hundreds. We weren't quite getting it at that rate. And so it's only really like the first 2 and a bit seasons that I kind of remember, because they played out over a few years on terrestrial British television. So those episodes I'm like really nostalgic for and really love them and can actually watch them again. Why is this taking so long? This is horrendous. But the point is that when I watch sort of like newer episodes, I say newer episodes, but episodes from that original series that came after that point, I just love how much it looks like the original cartoon. Yeah, when I sort of watch episodes from like later on, like the Vacation in Europe side season and things like that, because I don't have nostalgia for those episodes and I don't remember them, that's the point at which I start to think, this show's really stupid, isn't it? Ridiculous. Absolutely bizarre. I loved it. I was in the fan club, in the official fan club, and that guy stuck behind a traffic cone. Anyone I can hit with this? No. Maybe I can blow this thing up. Nice. Yeah, had a lot of the early action figures. I think Metalhead might have been my favourite. Michelangelo was my favourite turtle because that's who I aspired to be like, I think. Party animal. I remember being in junior school and going to a Christmas party, Christmas disco, and being told off by the teachers because I was trying to do the breakdancing thing, you know, where Michelangelo's like spinning round on his shell. Trying to do that, and I got told off for it. I don't know why. What could possibly be turn-offable about that? I have to fight both of these two now. Oh, God. All by myself? Am I going to rescue April? Yeah, love the toys, love the cartoon, love the Archie comic books. Didn't see any of the original comics until I was a lot older, of course. The Eastman and Laird originals. Got some collections of it. Such a big fan. Did you miss this about computer games as well? Oh, I could get that pizza, couldn't I? Although it doesn't really matter given that I'm essentially spunking unlimited money into this. I wonder how much money I would have spent on this by now if it was 10p a pop. There's the turtle wagon. Love that. Let's get to that secret factory. Yes, let's. I'll tell you, a few years ago on a whim, I watched the original Ninja Turtles films again. As I do every few years, and I decided that the original one is still amazing. The one that's like a hybrid of the original comics and has some of that kind of darkness in it, but that sort of blends elements of the children's show really well. Oh, I hate these things. Let me see if I can deal with these first. He says as he immediately goes and attacks the bloody foot soldiers. There we go. I watched the original film and still absolutely love it, and I think it's a great comic book movie. I watched the second one, which is like dumbed down and more like a live action version of the cartoon, and I've never been as big a fan of like live action, you know, cartoon style or comic book style comedy in a live action setting. Like, I think The Simpsons is hilarious, but I think an actual character acting the way Homer Simpson does would just be stupid and not as funny. I don't really know why. But I got the original VHS, the original film, Christmas Day 1990, and loved it to death. And then I never saw the second film. I was in an off-license / pizza place as a kid, getting a pizza one night with my mum. Pizza time, just like that. And they had Secret of the Ooze on VHS, but it was to rent, not to buy. And since we were never going to be going back to this place, because it was away from where we usually were, I wasn't allowed to get it. And it was the only time I ever saw the VHS anywhere. I lived in quite a small town, and there weren't really any places to buy videos when I was a kid. So I never saw it at the time, and I saw it a few years later. All I really knew about it was the comic book version. I had that, so I had the story, but it was in a black and white comic. So anyway, I watched it a few years later, and I've watched it a few times since, and the most recent watch through of it that I did, my consensus was that it's a shame it's not as dark, and I don't necessarily mean in terms of the brightness, but in terms of the story. Not as dark, the original. It's a bit too over the top and a bit too slapstick. But it's generally quite good until the last sort of 15 to 20 minutes where it gets absolutely preposterous. And you know what I'm talking about. It's Vanilla Ice. And it's the way the Super Shredder appears, but they can't have conflict in it, they can't have violence because it's been dumbed down. And so Super Shredder comes up and you think, oh my god, Shredder's leveled up and it's going to be amazing. And then he punches the docks and they all crash down on him and he dies. And it's like, well, what was the point of that? What was the point? And then we never find out that, I guess at one point the scientist that finds the ooze was supposed to, possibly an allegory for Baxter Stockman, and then was maybe supposed to have a bigger part in it, and doesn't. And obviously it's Tucker and Razor instead of Bebop and Rocksteady, and you know, it's good, but it's not great. The less said about Turtles in Time, the better, but because I never saw that one either at the time, and I've only known about it as having a reputation of being terrible, I think I don't hate it as much as other people do. And it's not actually called Turtles in Time, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, but, you know, they go back in time to feudal Japan. The stuff with Casey Jones, you know, having him back in it is great, but he just, because of the time travel stuff, he doesn't interact with any of the Turtles. Really disappointing. And then I thought, I know it's bad, but I'm gonna watch the next mutation, and I watched one episode and I never watched any others because it was that bad.